Hey, welcome everyone. This is MileSplit Live presented by New Balance. Brian and myself, Corey, back here from San Diego and Portland. We're going to say hi back there to Trent, obviously.
What's up, everyone?
Manning the social media accounts, as always. But yeah, we just got back from a killer 2 weeks, basically, in San Diego for Foot Locker Nationals and NXN in Portland. So how did your trip go? I know mine
loved
went
it.
well.
I'm surprised, we got along the whole time. We had a great trip the entire time. Portland was awesome. A little rainy and wet for the most part, but then when we got to San Diego, it was like the clouds obviously all went away and just beautiful sunny beaches and just getting to run on the beach a couple times.
I
was
will
nice.
say Foot Locker does it right. All their people put on a phenomenal show. Organized, committed. They really do wonders for the cross-country community, so they do a wonderful production there. And Hotel Del was there as well. But we had a big meet, Foot Locker Nationals, concluding the cross-country season. And, let's just start with the boys right now because that was the surprise race. We didn't quite know what was going to happen. We thought a lot could happen. So we saw Dylan Jacobs of Sandberg High go 15:19.70 to win.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the race, when we first got into it, a bunch of people were asking, at the course the day before, who do you guys think is going to win? Who do you think is going to do it? And to be honest, it's like, we had our top 5 or so picks that could be in contention, but it was really anybody's race. And if you look at Dylan Jacobs and the way that he ran that course, from the year before, he definitely took away some big learning curve. And I talked to him the day before, and he was kind of like, well, I'm not going to really let my game plan out or let anybody really know what it is, but I might take it out the same way I've taken out other races, or I might change it up. So he's kind of messing with me a little bit. It was kind of fun and playful, but clearly he knew how to race and he got the job done. I mean, it was incredible to watch him.
Second time since 2010 that a runner from Sandberg High won Foot Locker Nationals. Lucas Rodriguez, which was holding up the tape for Dylan, was the last to do it. But you talked about racing better this time around. He was more patient. Going back to that 2016 race, after 800 meters, he made a move on Seth Hirsch, and that was way too quick on a course like Balboa Park. So what does he do differently this time? At about the halfway point, 7 minutes, 30 seconds, he really starts to make that move. Dalton Hanks at that point really took the downhill strong, but Dylan waited. He waited after the downhill, didn't really cruise too much on the downhill, but then after that, he just started to make his move. Yeah,
it was overall just a strong racing tactic. We saw it last year with obviously the champion Reed Brown taking the win in that same kind of fashion, waiting till that second downhill, second uphill even to start to really pull away, and Jacobs kind of pulled away a little before that. So an incredible, seeing how being there a few years in a row can help out, and also just watching and seeing how other guys have played that race well.
And one interesting thing, we've talked about speed ratings all year round. They're a metric for grading races, and no one from Foot Locker Nationals was graded above a 200. Dylan Jacobs, 198 for the win here for Foot Locker Nationals. At NXN, 2 guys, Aiden Troutner and Brody Hasty, were 201 and 200. So you still got to kind of look at that race. People are going to have their doubts on the winner of Foot Locker Nationals. That's given, but you don't take anything away from what Dylan was able to do.
Incredible race.
In the girls' race, what we expected to happen?
Claudia Lane. Crushing things.
The Claudia Lane show.
Yeah, Claudia Lane show. She just took it from the gun, and that's how she loves to race. She likes to go out there, go out hard, and just get after it. And that's what she did, and unchallenged. I mean, just in all facets of the race, just unchallenged.
1 second off her PR, 17:03. Last year, she ran 17:04. Only the 6th two-time champion now at Foot Locker Nationals. No one's ever done it 3 times in a row.
And I think, looking at her race, it was awesome. I think that race for second, we were kind of like, oh, who's going to happen there? And those Midwest girls showing up huge in that race. Yeah,
I mean, Katelyn Hart, Olivia Tice, Emily Covert was in there. Catherine Lee out of New York finished 4th. A lot of girls kind of came in the mix. There was Claudia, and then there was the Chase Pack.
Yeah.
And there was multiple storylines throughout that race, but it was kind of hard to see him because the camera's focused on Claudia Lane. You actually talked to her though, and she wasn't 100%, which a lot of people expected her to go after a course record, maybe go in the 16:40s or 30s, but she wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, I think the sickness might have inhibited her a little bit from that. Not to take anything at all away from her victory. I think 2 in a row at Foot Locker, one of the most prestigious meets in the country, says so much. But yeah, I think we maybe would have saw her go just a slight bit faster if she hadn't had that cold. She used a neti pot, I think it's called, where you put it in your nose and it goes out the other side, and all the water drains your sinuses and everything. So she had to use one of those the night before the race, and Mucinex, and she gave me the whole 9 yards about it.
Now, like for Foot Locker, there's always going to be surprises that we don't expect. But I think for me, especially Jackie Gaughan in 5th and Jake Renfrey in 5th. I mean, they finished in the top 5 when most didn't expect them to be All-Americans. Jockey Gunn, in particular, used a lot of that doubt to help motivate her in this race, and she finished 5th overall. I mean, she went under, I believe, 18 minutes. Only 9 girls in this race went under 18 minutes. So, I mean, she had a really good performance. Anything interesting from Foot Locker that you can take
For me, on the guy side, definitely has to be Graydon Morris from Aledo, Texas. Graydon just totally ran an amazing race. And I think, you know, he was running last year as a freshman for the first time ever since Futsum Zana Selassie did that, you know, dating back like 17 years now. I think they're the only 2 freshmen to ever run the race. So huge props to him for making it that year. And then he comes back and makes it this year. After finishing 3rd in the region, he finishes 2nd in the nation. So just a huge race from him. And I think he also took some strategy away from last year. And I think that's one of the big things that, you know, we see year in and year out now is the strategy that you can take away as being a repeat Foot Locker Nationals qualifier. And I think he learned a lot from his race as a freshman to now see it play out in his sophomore year and how he used that to advantage. He again surged at all the right times, just like Dylan Jacobs did, you know, just a little bit further behind, so he couldn't quite catch up to him. And I think a guy who might see that next year is Kyle Harkabus, also from the South region.
Yeah. It's kind of absurd, too. You look at Graydon Morris, he was 34th last year in this race. And, you know, strike away all that, you know, past racing experience. I mean, he went out, he executed his plan.
Yeah.
And he got 2nd. You know, a guy last year, Reed Brown, who won, he went from 16th to 1st.
Yep.
Graydon's going to be only a junior next year, so he has the potential to possibly, you know, win this race.
100%. I think 100%.
Well, moving on to our way too early picks for Foot Locker Nationals next year. I guess let's start with the boys.
Yeah, man, I'm sticking on Graydon Morris. I think you watch how he improved from 34th his freshman year to 2nd this year. I think if he gets nothing less than 1st next year, I think he'd probably be disappointed. I think 1st place is his ultimate goal. I think it was this year. And, you know, talking to him after the race, he said one of the big things that he had in mind was last year he was kind of just training to try to qualify for the finals and make it to Foot Locker Nationals. This year it was like the goal was Foot Locker Nationals. He trained through the state meet, which he won also. He trained through the regional to make it to the national meet, and that's how we see it play out, and he did really well this year. And I think next year, with even more strength behind him as a year older and just racing experience, he'll have a good shot at the win. What about you for the body?
I don't think anything's guaranteed in races like this.
Never
you look
guaranteed.
At Alex Mayer this year, he had something small happen to him at the end of his season, and it inhibited him the rest of the way. So it's tough. You always want to expect a kid to go through the postseason healthy, but you can never guarantee anything. And we actually talked about this, you know, over the last couple of days. This course itself really is advantageous for Texas runners.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the surface transitions. I mean, you go from kind of like sand structure to hard pack to some grass. I mean, it's really difficult, but the weather coupled with that really helps Texas runners. But for me, there's a lot of returners back. I like Drew Bosley out of Homestead, Wisconsin, finished 7th here, 7th at NXN. We had 5 guys in the All-American that finished All-American that are coming back. But I'm going to go with one that didn't even run Foot Locker. It's Conant Smith of Middletown in Ohio. I mean, this guy finished as an All-American NXN, and I believe that the race for him next year will be Foot Locker. I think I don't necessarily know if he has a team that really is driving him to NXN, but if I'm Conant Smith, I go to this individual national championship and help buoy the field, and I go there and I try to win.
So you think that's going to change his mindset, though, because he doesn't have a team? That doesn't mean he... Why would he not race NXN again, though? He's been there now. He knows what it's like.
It's not an individual. It shouldn't be an individual race. We've always talked about NXN being the ultimate team championship. And in recent times, I think it's kind of transitioned a little bit into an individual title. But Foot Locker, for me, should be the individual championship.
It's 100% more individualized. But if you look at Brody Hasty, he didn't have a team. I know he's trying to help his team qualify, but he didn't have a team at Nationals, and he went to...
Well, that's always the mentality, though. Brody had a team, and he was looking to qualify. But it didn't happen, and he was only the individual qualifier. I mean, if you're Conant Smith, if your team's not very strong enough to get through a region, you got to know that, and I think you have to go for a Foot Locker region, in my mind. I mean, and especially, let's transition.
We'll have to change and see his mindset next year, essentially.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but if he does enter, I think Conant Smith is a guy to watch out for.
Hey, real quick, here we go. We got Travis Miller chiming in, saying which championship win was more impressive, Tuohy or Lane?
Come on, Travis.
Big question.
Of course.
Come on.
Couldn't make the show today, but he chimes in. And you know, I'm gonna say one point to this, and I think you know, both athletes are so strong and superb. And for me, it's such a hard thing to disseminate which one is better, which athlete's stronger. I think Katelyn Tuohy's performance was extremely impressive. Not ideal conditions, cold, rainy, muddy, wet. I think she thrives in those conditions. Claudia Lane, hot, warm, sunny, sandy conditions. They each kind of pick the races that play to their strength. Is where I want to see them. Is I want to see them go head-to-head in a 2 mile or a mile on the track this track season and see how things shake out and play out there.
That's not the question.
I know it's not the question, but I don't want to have to pick. Season. I don't want to. I'm going to say flat out. I don't want to pick.
This is a subjective ranking. I think if you look at it based on the speed ratings and the performances, Katelyn Tuohy has a little bit of a notch up on Claudia Lane. Claudia Lane wasn't 100% healthy at Foot Locker 2. Yeah. If she was 100% healthy, I think she goes sub 17 minutes, and she really 100%. Puts an argument out there. The bigger question now is who's the Gatorade Gatorade Cross Country Girls Runner of the Year? Is it Claudia Lane or is it Katelyn Tuohy? Because that's a really big question, and it could go either way.
Yeah.
So my question here too for the girls' early picks for Foot Locker, just like my argument for Conan Smith, Katelyn Tuohy, I think she goes to Foot Locker next year.
She definitely could and should go to Foot Locker next year if she becomes just an individual, but her team is normally pretty strong. We'll see next year, though, how things shake out for her.
Yeah, and I think she has a relationship with NXN, which is one of the reasons why I think she's been so tied to that race. But I feel like you got to look at what this matchup will do for your career. It can really boost it. It can really do a lot for cross country as a whole. So
what it'll do for her career and for the sport. I think just seeing one national champion and whether they go to either race, I just want to see them face head to head. That's my biggest thing. Is like I hate to try to choose a favorite when it's so close.
I mean, you look at records. We'll just put it out there. Claudia Lane, Woodward Park broke a record. Mount Sac broke a record. Lake Casitas broke a record. Katelyn Tuohy, Bowdoin Park broke a record. Manhattan broke a record. Was it Bear Mountain, I think, maybe, or
the Wayne State meet?
No, there was some other meet, but she has 3 records, and obviously, I think at NXN too, she broke a record of Katie Rainsberger. So you look at the amount of records that Katelyn Tuohy was able to do, plus her win, plus that phenomenal showing. I think it's Katelyn Tuohy, but I don't discount anything that Claudia Lane was able to do because she's just phenomenal, and she could be the first 3-time champion. We look at 2 early picks beyond Claudia Lane, who we both probably expect to win next year. I mean, is there anybody else that kind of comes to mind here?
For me, I mean, I don't know. I just know Claudia Lane is for sure going to be up there in the front of the pack.
I mean, Caitlin Hart from Illinois.
Caitlin Hart coming back, yes.
She was second this time, nudged Olivia Tice at the line. She only picked Foot Locker this year after deciding, like, she wanted a little bit more of a challenge in her season. Yeah. So she ended up doing a region, and then she finished second. So that's one girl to really watch out for. Tuohy went from 13th to 1st this year, made a huge improvement. So that will be interesting to see. So Foot Locker, obviously we're getting through that, but now we have to go to the indoor season.
Yeah.
Bishop Loughlin Games?
The Bishop Loughlin Games in New York.
In New York, one of the biggest indoor meets in the Northeast, held at Ocean Breeze facility. First major meet for New York City metro area, so that's going to be huge. Banked hydraulic track, really fast times.
Beautiful facility from what I've heard.
I mean, I don't know, we don't have the seeds and everyone who's going to be in this meet, but like generally speaking, we're going to see a lot of U.S. #1 performances here because it's early in the indoor season.
Oh yeah, I would say definitely. I think that there's definitely going to be a lot of those New York athletes looking to go out and run a fast time. Possibly several from the cross country season, still trying to hold over into the first couple of races of track season to qualify for maybe some of those section meets and things that they might need qualifying times for. So I think we'll see some fast sprints and possibly some fast distance athletes as well.
Last year at this meet, Deja Lampkin, who's now at Alabama, dropped a U.S. #1 in the 300 meters. Alyssa Wilson from New Jersey, who's now at UCLA, dropped a state record as well. And then I think one school that we could expect here is Bullis School from Maryland. They have several athletes that are always ranked. Eric Allen, in one particular, he ran 300 meters in 34 seconds last year. So watch out for that Maryland program, possibly at Bishop Loughlin Games this coming weekend. Trent, do we have anything going on?
Not much other than Travis chiming in his thoughts. So
okay. Well, I guess we should go to our Virginia meet now. We got our guy Nolan Jez on the line. We're going to bring him in for some thoughts on this meet coming in. Boo Williams Holiday Invitational at the the Sportsplex in Hampton, Virginia. So let's go to Nolan. We gotta go to our headphones.
Here we go. Now we can talk to Nolan and we can hear him. Hey Nolan, man, you there?
Yeah. Hey, how are you guys?
Pretty good, man.
Gotta put on my headphones.
Yeah, gotta be able to hear you here.
So this weekend at the Boo Williams Winter Break Invitational, obviously be live on MileSplit. It's the third week in a row, the last one heading into that winter break. So teams are starting to open up. We'll have teams from North Carolina, Maryland, D.C., and obviously Virginia, the best state in the country for indoor track. And we're going to see Nansen River, that's Team War, open it up. This meet's a little different than the other ones there. Virginia, like a lot of states, it's a 55-3, 500,000 state. But this weekend we're going to see the 200, 400, 800, which gives a lot of these athletes that New Balance National Indoor Qualifier. So going to be a little bit different. You get a little bit more talent out of an early season meet because it's a qualifier for nationals. One of the bigger names for Nansen River will be Corey Carter. She's running in the Open 4, seated at like 57. She'll probably run her right around there. She's going to try and hit the standard, knowing Coach JB well enough. He doesn't want to show what she's capable of. She's a 40.300 hurdler. So if you do the math,
talk about the reason to go here with the Open 4, maybe building up for a track. Why sort of the Open 4 at this? What's the decision behind that for Corey Carter, maybe?
So, I mean, she's a 400 hurdler. She's going to be, well, she's a 300 hurdler now. She's a really, really good 100-meter hurdler. But her strength could actually be the 400 hurdles. And she beat Britton Wilson in the 500 indoors. Britton Wilson went on to be an All-American indoors, set the sophomore class national record last year at New Balance Indoors. So I think he's trying to get her in different events. He told me going into the season, he says, all right, you're a junior now. You're going to have to win the team championship yourself, meaning he's kind of babied her the first 2 years. He had enough cards to play that she only ran 1 or 2 events. But this year he's like, no, we're going 55, 300, 500, long jump, triple jump, high jump, whatever we need. We're getting the points from you. So it's going to be her probably 1 or 2 chances this year to run a fast individual event without worrying about relays and 4 or 5 other events. Western Branch slowly opening up as well, and as well as some Maryland teams coming down to run some quick times at the Sportsplex.
Now, you covered the past 2 weekends, like you said, in Virginia indoor meets. One name that kind of struck us was Janelle Sanders, the super freshman out of Phoebus. She won her first competition, the high jump, kind of relatively easy. Didn't really break new ground, but I mean, she's a girl obviously to watch over the next couple months, not only in indoor but outdoor too. What can you foresee out of Janelle Sanders?
So this year is probably this class of girls will rival the 2016 or 2015 class of boys that had Grant Holloway, Noah Lyle, Drew Hunter, and all of them. They basically swept nationals. And that's the type of talent that really just the 757, the Hampton Roads, Norfolk area has. You have Shadeja Ballard's little sister, Natasia Ballard, who opened up with a 40 point in the 300 at a weekday meet. She's going to be probably a 13 mid to 13 high 100-meter hurdler by the time outdoor track comes around. Then you have Janelle. Obviously, that is a heptathlon AAU national champion. She's probably going to go for the heptathlon indoor national title as a freshman. I foresee a lot more of her in the hurdles, getting used to the high school ranks, the prelims, the finals, and coming back strong, as well as the tough jumping competition in Virginia. And then you have a whole class of Hampton girls that should be opening up this weekend. They are led by Jordan Hardy, who is a phenomenal athlete, coming close to 40 feet in the triple jump as a sophomore this year and already getting near 19 feet in the long jump. And if you ask Nansen River or Western Branch, they will tell you that Hampton actually has probably the most talented group of young ladies in the state. And then the final girl that no one's even going to see, because in Virginia you cannot run against homeschooled athletes, is Michaela Rose, who would have gone to either Nansen River, Western Branch, or Tallwood. And she opened up as a freshman with a 257,000 at a weekday meet, which is U.S. #1. She's a 54-second 400 runner and a 208 800 runner as an 8th grader.
Wow. Well, one thing that we saw, obviously, last week at NXN, Loudon Valley took that team title in record fashion, scoring 89 points. But then they came back a week later at that Holiday Invitational, and they really came to work, obviously, with a lot of those guys featuring in the 1,000, in the 1,600, a couple in the relay. I mean, do you have any insight as to when, I mean, is that sort of a one-off and then they're going to take their break? What's the insight into Loudon Valley and where they're going to go from here?
Yeah, and we saw it. I think the one team that really started this strong trend, or kind of led by example, was Lake Braddock a couple years ago. Mike Megan and his crew, with Kate Murphy at the helm. What they would do is they'd run NXN, they'd come back the next week, they'd hammer out state qualifiers, since Virginia is a state qualifying state. You hit the standard anytime in the indoor season, you are good for the whole year. You get your free bid into state. And then they shut it down for Christmas break. I mean, it just works out because there's no major meet until the end of January. That is the plan for the Hunters, both Joan and Mark Hunter, the coaches at Loudon Valley. They wanted to get a quick time in, and you could see, especially Sam Apholder, you were hinting at it, ran 4:11, then came back about 2 hours later, ran 2:30 flat, and then came back about an hour later and split 51.8. He was biting at the chip all cross-country season to finally be in the track season. So
I can imagine.
A lot of those guys just wanted to have fun and get a quick time. And Coach Hunter told us that they had been begging him for months to run a 4x4. So they got their wish. I don't think you'll see another 4x4 out of them. But yeah, I think they're going to shut it down. Next big meet will probably be the VA Showcase, or maybe a really early January meet to get an off-event qualifier in.
One other big piece of news that you actually broke last week, I believe, is Western Branch's Olympic coach, Claudia, I believe, is going to retire at the end of the spring season. I mean, he's won multiple state championships in indoor and outdoor. He's a really phenomenal coach. What does that mean for that Western Branch program, maybe looking forward?
Yeah, so Tukes, as he's known, 23 state titles in 10 years. Between the boys and the girls. He's coached Olympians. He's coached national record holders. He will be missed. I mean, there's no other way of saying that. He put Virginia track on a really high pedestal, especially in the hurdles, the shuttle hurdle relays, which Kyle Brazel out of New York will not consider a real event because we just rack up the national titles and national records in that. He really taught his athletes how to hurdle, and it goes a lot saying that you see him every year in the results, setting national record this after this. But the crazy thing is they have more All-Americans on this team than they have hurdles. They have about 9 or 10 hurdles at the school, and they do not have a track. They don't have a jumping pit. They've had multiple 20-foot jumpers in the girls' side, 40-foot jumpers in the girls' side. They have an asphalt track with weeds growing through it that they don't even get to use half the days. He'd be the first one to tell you they trespass. They have to jump over fences and break in to get track time. And that's what he's really put up as a legacy, is kids that are grateful just to have a safe place to run in the morning, or, at least they have a couple weights that they can work with. And he doesn't need to raise his voice or anything. You can see that he raises athletes the right way. They're good student athletes. And one thing that I think no one knows about him is his athletes are always the most respectful. They may be the loudest. They may have to have had a rule at the Virginia State meet where you can enter 8 athletes in a relay, and he would enter 8 athletes that weren't even on that relay so that they could get into the state meet for free. And the Western Branch cheering section would have like 300 kids in it that weren't even competing at the meet. So they kind of changed that rule. But at the end of the day, every single one of his athletes after the meet will go and shake the hand of every single official and timer at that meet and thank them. And that just shows you that he has a good head on his shoulder and knows what really matters in track.
Definitely. You need those committed, driven coaches willing to go the extra mile to make sure their athletes are getting everything they need in track. Nolan, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us. We'll probably see you soon, okay?
Oh, yeah, and one last thing. You guys were arguing about Tuohy and Lane. One thing I would think is interesting is Lane kind of has a shorter, more powerful stride, quick step, while Tuohy is more of a track girl. I think maybe if you flipped the courses, it would actually play into each of their favor. I think San Diego and Balboa would be a better fast course, while that short, quick step might be faster for Lane. Just a thought. Yeah. Maybe next year they can switch.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. Thanks, Nolan.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right,
see you, Nolan.
Yeah, so we are going to see a bunch out of Virginia in the next
yeah.
couple months. Boo Williams is a start this coming weekend. Before we leave, Trent, do we have anything else we want to catch up with? Other than Travis, does Travis have any compelling arguments that he wants to make?
Not really. No. Someone said, let's see, Clayton Mendez, Jacobs, and Danny Kilray all in a 3,200.
Ooh.
That would be pretty dirty.
That would be real good. Yeah. The Midwest region was phenomenal at both national meets. Just superb talent.
I believe Dylan's coach came up to me afterward. It might have been, I think it was his coach.
Which one? I think he had 7 or so.
Yeah, there was a lot of them. He had a lot of fans there. But they said to me, "Are you finally willing to believe in Dylan Jacobs?" Because I doubted him a little bit. I didn't pick him, but this really opened my eyes into what he could do. So track is only coming. So we're going to see a lot more out of that Midwest.
Yeah,
so,
exciting stuff.
Yeah, as always, if you have comments or thoughts, tweet at us at MileSplit or on Facebook. We love to hear what you think, and we'll definitely always respond. But for more information on the cross country and the track and field season coming up, go to milesplit.com. We'll have stories, photos, interviews, and all that even more. And we're going to be back next week for MileSplit Live on Monday. It's our last show before the Christmas holiday, so make sure to tune in as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.